Your grandmother never owned a fan. Not one. Yet her terraced house stayed cool through the scorching summer of 1959, while your modern flat turns into a greenhouse. She knew 25 tricks costing pennies that the air conditioning industry would rather you forgot. Number 14 uses nothing but a wet bedsheet, and engineers have proven it drops room temperature by 4 degrees. Number 5 sounds mad, drinking something hot to cool down, yet scientists confirmed it works. We spend hundreds on portable aircon units that barely cope. She spent nothing. Hit subscribe because your house is about to be the coolest on the street. Let us count down the 25 smartest heatwave tricks that vanished from British homes. Number 25. Drawing the curtains before breakfast. Your mum did not wait for the heat to arrive. The moment she came downstairs, before the kettle even boiled, she pulled every curtain on the east side of the house shut. By lunchtime, the south-facing ones were closed too. It looked gloomy from the street, but the neighbors were doing exactly the same. The logic was simple. Once sunlight comes through glass and hits your carpet, your sofa, your walls, it turns into heat that cannot get back out. Physicists call it the greenhouse effect. Your mum called it common sense. Curtains she already owned, closed at the right moment, kept the front room several degrees cooler than next door's. Modern advice says buy thermal blackout blinds at £40 a window. She managed with floral curtains from the market, 6 shillings the pair, and perfect timing. Number 24. Net curtains as sun armor. Those net curtains everyone mocks as old-fashioned were doing a serious job. White nets, washed weekly, and dipped in robin starch so they hung stiff and bright, bounced sunlight straight back out of the window before it could turn to heat inside. The whiter the net, the more it reflected. That is why your mum bleached them each spring, soaking them in the twin tub until they gleamed. A pair of nets cost maybe 3 shillings from the drapers and lasted a decade. They also let the breeze through, which heavy curtains never could, so you got reflection and ventilation at the same time. Researchers studying window treatments have since confirmed that pale reflective layers at the glass can cut solar gain by 1/3. We ripped the nets down in the 1990s because they looked dated. Then we bought reflective window film off the internet that does exactly the same thing for 10 times the price. Number 23. The morning air harvest. Your grandmother got up at 6 in a heatwave, and not just from habit. The coldest air of the entire day arrives just before and after dawn, and she harvested it. Every window in the house went wide open, back door too, front door on the chain, letting that cool morning air flush out yesterday's heat from every room. Then, by 9 o'clock, everything slammed shut again. Windows closed, curtains drawn, house sealed like a flask. The cool air she had captured stayed trapped inside brick walls a foot thick, and the heat stayed out. Building scientists now call this a night purge and design million-pound eco-houses around the principle. She called it airing the house. It cost absolutely nothing. The whole street did it in 1976, and those Victorian terraces stayed livable through the hottest summer in centuries without a single fan. Number 22. The wet tea towel over the pram. When the baby had to sleep through an August afternoon, your mum draped a wet muslin or tea towel over the side of the pram or across the open nursery window, never over the baby, always to the side where the breeze came through. As air moved through the damp cloth, the water evaporated and pulled heat out of the air, cooling the breeze before it reached the child. District nurses showed new mothers exactly how to do it in the 1950s. A muslin square cost 6p and lasted years. The same principle cools houses across the Middle East and has done for 2,000 years. We forgot it entirely, and now parents buy clip-on pram fans with batteries that push warm air around. The wet cloth did the job silently, safely, and for the price of the water in it. Number 21. Feet in a basin of cold water. Before anyone owned a fan, your grandmother cooled her whole body from the ankles down. She filled the washing-up bowl with cold tap water, set it under the kitchen table, and sat with her feet in it while she shelled peas. Your feet are packed with blood vessels close to the skin, so cold water there chills the blood, which then circulates and cools you everywhere else. It is the same reason pulse points work. Nurses used exactly this method on hospital wards during the 1976 heatwave when temperatures on the wards passed 30 degrees. Cost: nothing but a bowl you already owned. 10 minutes with your feet in cold water beats standing in front of a cheap fan. And sports scientists now use the identical technique to cool athletes between events. Grandma was doing sports science in her scullery. Number 20. The block of ice from the fishmonger. Before home freezers, the fishmonger and the iceman sold blocks of ice, and in a heatwave, canny housewives bought one for the house instead of the fish. A sixpenny block went into a roasting tin on the floor in front of the open window, or later in front of the electric fan if you were posh enough to own one. Air passing over the ice cooled and sank, spreading chill across the floor where the family sat. Children fetched the block wrapped in newspaper and sacking, racing home before it melted, and even the meltwater went on the doorstep or the pot plants. The internet rediscovers this every summer. Bowl of ice in front of a fan, presented as a genius hack. Your great-grandmother was doing it in 1935 with ice bought for pennies from a man with a horse and cart. Number 19. Opening the sash windows at both ends. Victorian sash windows were not designed that way by accident. Your grandmother knew the trick. Pull the top sash down 6 inches and push the bottom sash up 6 inches, both at once. Hot air, which rises, escaped through the top gap, and cooler air was drawn in through the bottom gap, creating a gentle circular current in the room without any draft strong enough to slam a door. The Victorians engineered this deliberately, until double-glazing salesmen ripped the sashes out and fitted plastic windows that only open one way. Building conservationists have measured it. A properly worked sash window ventilates a room better than most modern trickle vents. It cost nothing. It needed no electricity. And if you still have sash windows, this trick works today, this afternoon, the moment you stop watching this video. Number 18. The chimney as an exhaust pipe. First pattern break. Here is where things get clever. That open fireplace everyone boarded up in the 1970s was secretly the best cooling device in the house. Your grandmother opened the damper wide in summer, and the chimney did the rest. Hot air rises, and a tall brick chimney acts like a vertical motorway for it, sucking warm air out of the room and up into the sky, pulling cooler air in from the shaded side of the house to replace it. Engineers call it the stack effect, the exact principle behind the passive cooling towers now built into carbon-neutral office blocks at enormous expense. Here is the wild part. Researchers modeling Victorian terraces found that houses with open chimneys ran noticeably cooler in summer than identical houses with sealed flues. We blocked up millions of chimneys to stop winter drafts and accidentally destroyed our free summer air conditioning. She knew. She left the damper open from May to September, and the house breathed. Number 17. Whitewashing the windowsills and the privy roof. Lime wash cost about a penny a pound from the ironmongers, and in early summer, your grandfather painted it on everything that caught the sun. The outside windowsills, the water butt, the corrugated roof of the outhouse, the greenhouse glass. White surfaces reflect sunlight instead of absorbing it, and a coat of lime wash could keep a lean-to or a privy 10 degrees cooler inside. Greenhouse shading with lime wash was standard in every allotment handbook, and gardeners still buy the modern version at £8 a bottle. Cities across the Mediterranean have painted their houses white for centuries for precisely this reason, and researchers today are coating roofs in reflective paint and calling it cool roof technology. Your grandfather did it with a bag of lime, a bucket of water, and a Saturday morning. Number 16. Cold suppers by decree. In a heatwave, your grandmother simply refused to light the oven, and the whole family ate accordingly. A gas oven running for an hour pumps out heat that lingers until bedtime, so from June to August, hot dinners gave way to cold ham, hard-boiled eggs, salad with salad cream, tinned salmon on lettuce and jelly made the night before. Any cooking happened at 7 in the morning while the house was still cool. The Ministry of Food's summer leaflets actively encouraged cold meals to save fuel, and thrift did the rest. A proper salad tea cost less than a roast, and kept the kitchen, the hottest room in any house, from poisoning the rest of the home with heat. We now run ovens at 200 degrees on the hottest day of the year and then complain the house is boiling. She would have called that madness, and she would have been right. Number 15. Rugs up, lino down. Every May in thousands of British homes, the winter rugs were beaten, rolled, wrapped in brown paper with mothballs, and carried up to the loft. What remained was bare lino, quarry tile or polished floorboards, and the difference underfoot was immediate. Hard floors do not trap heat the way wool does, and they feel cool against bare feet because they conduct warmth away from your skin. Children spent whole summers lying flat on the lino in the front room, cheek pressed to the cold floor, and it genuinely worked. The seasonal swap also protected the wool from moths, so one job solved two problems, and it cost nothing but an afternoon. Today we fit wall-to-wall carpet everywhere, seal in the heat, and then wonder why the bedroom never cools down. In hot countries, from Spain to India, hard floors remain standard for exactly the reason your grandmother understood. In summer, the floor is furniture. Number 14. The wet sheet over the open window. This is the one engineers cannot believe we abandoned. On a stifling night, your grandmother soaked a bedsheet, wrung it out and hung it over the open bedroom window like a curtain. Any breeze coming through had to pass through the damp cloth, and as the water evaporated, it stripped heat from the air. The breeze that reached the bed was measurably cooler, sometimes by 3 or 4 degrees. This is evaporative cooling, the same physics inside a modern swamp cooler that sells for £200, except the sheet version costs nothing and needs no plug. Desert cultures have used wet cloth screens for millennia. British families used them in every heatwave up to the 1970s, refreshing the sheet with a second dunking at midnight. One damp sheet, one open window, one moving current of air. That is the entire system, and it still outperforms most of the plastic gadgets in your local Argos. Number 13. Sleeping downstairs, or not indoors at all. Heat rises, and your grandmother did not fight physics. On the worst nights of 1976, whole families abandoned the bedrooms entirely. Mattresses and eiderdowns came down the stairs, and children slept in the front room where the air was several degrees cooler, or on camp beds in the back garden under the stars, which they remembered as the greatest adventure of their childhood. Nobody thought it strange, because the whole street was doing it, and you could hear the neighbors chatting over the fence at midnight. The upstairs of a terraced house can run 5 degrees hotter than the ground floor by bedtime, and no fan on earth fixes that. Moving the bed fixes it instantly, for free. We now lie sweating in the hottest room of the house out of pure habit, while the cool sitting room sits empty all night. Number 12. The larder principle and the coal cellar refuge. Second pattern break. Controversy incoming, because this one shames every modern house builder in Britain. Old houses had a larder, a north-facing pantry with a stone or slate shelf, a vented brick to the outside, and no window to the sun. It stayed cool all summer without a single watt of electricity, keeping milk, butter, and meat safe for days. The stone shelf, called the thrall, was a slab of thermal mass that simply refused to warm up. Houses with cellars went one better. On the hottest afternoons, grandmothers took their mending down to the cellar and sat in the cool dark until tea time. Then, from the 1960s onward, builders ripped the larders out to fit fridges, sealed the vents, and sold us houses that turn into ovens. Architects now charge fortunes designing passive cool stores back into eco-homes. The knowledge never went anywhere. We just built over it. Number 11. Damp doorsteps and watered yards. Every summer evening, your grandmother took a watering can or a bucket to the backyard and sluiced water over the doorstep, the flagstones, and the brick path. Within minutes, the yard felt cooler, and the cool held on into the night. The stone had soaked up sun all day, and wetting it forced that heat to spend itself evaporating the water instead of warming the kitchen. Shopkeepers did the same to the pavement outside their doors every morning. And in Japan, the identical ritual has a name, uchi-mizu, and is now promoted by city governments as a heat island remedy backed by university studies. British women were doing it in their aprons in 1938 without a research grant in sight. The water came from the butt, the bucket cost nothing, and the whole street smelled of rain on warm stone at 7 o'clock every evening. Number 10. Cotton, and only cotton, on the bed. When the heat came, the eiderdown was banished to the ottoman. The flannelette sheets went into storage, and out came plain white cotton sheets, washed thin over years, and a cotton cellular blanket at most. Nylon sheets, when they arrived in the 1960s, were shoved to the back of the airing cupboard every June, because sleeping on nylon in a heatwave was like sleeping inside a plastic bag. Cotton breathes. It absorbs sweat and lets it evaporate, which is your body's entire cooling system allowed to work. Thin, old, worn cotton is even better than new because the fibers soften and the weave opens. A pair of plain cotton sheets cost around 12 shillings and lasted 20 years. We now pay £60 for bamboo cooling sheets with a technology badge on the packet, chasing what the ordinary washing line delivered for free. Number 9. The pillowcase in the larder. This one sounds like a joke until you try it. Half an hour before bed on a hot night, your grandmother put the pillowcases, sometimes the pillows themselves, folded neatly on the cold thrall shelf in the larder. Families with a cellar used the cellar steps. By bedtime, the cotton was cool as a church floor, and falling asleep on a cold pillow, head and neck being where your body dumps heat, made the first half hour of the night bearable. The head is one of the most temperature-sensitive parts of the body, and sleep researchers have since shown that cooling the head and neck measurably shortens the time it takes to fall asleep in hot weather. Today's version is putting your pillowcase in the freezer in a plastic bag, which the internet presents as a revolutionary hack. Same trick. Grandma's version needed no freezer, no plastic bag, and no electricity. Just a cold slab of slate and half an hour of patience. Number 8. Talcum powder on the sheets. Before bed on the stickiest nights, a light dusting of talcum powder went across the bottom sheet, and sometimes on the backs of knees and elbows too. The powder absorbed sweat and stopped skin dragging and sticking to the cotton, which is half of what makes a hot night unbearable, and the faint lavender scent was the smell of summer bedtimes for a generation. A tin of Yardley or Boots' own brand talc cost about 1 6 and lasted the whole season. Hospitals use the same trick on wards for bedbound patients in hot weather, and it appears in nursing manuals from the 1950s. The modern equivalent is a 14-pound bottle of cooling sleep spray from a wellness brand. The old tin of talc did the mechanical part of the job just as well, for a fraction of the price, and your grandmother would have laughed all the way to the chemist. Number 7. The hot water bottle, filled cold, third pattern break. Before we start, admit it, you did not see this one coming. That rubber hot water bottle hanging on the back of the scullery door was a dual-season appliance. In summer, your grandmother filled it with cold tap water, later straight from the fridge, and took it to bed tucked against her feet or the small of her back. A cold water bottle stays cool for hours, pressed against the pulse points where blood runs close to the skin, cooling the blood that then circulates around the whole body. Here is the wild part. Charities and health services now hand out exactly this advice during heat health alerts. Cold water bottle, pulse points. Word for word what grandmothers were doing in 1948. The bottle cost a few shillings and lasted a decade of winters and summers alike. We invented nothing. We just forgot for 50 years, then wrote it up as new guidance. Number 6. The draft map of the house. Every experienced housewife carried a mental map of exactly how air moved through her home, and she worked it like a machine. She knew that opening the scullery window and the front room door together pulled a current straight down the hall. She knew the back bedroom caught a through breeze only if the landing window was cracked, which doors to prop with the flat iron and which to close firmly, and it changed by the hour as the sun moved around the house. This was cross-ventilation managed with real skill, and it is precisely what architects now model with computational fluid dynamics software when they design naturally cooled buildings. She learned it by living in the house through 40 summers. The instruction cost nothing and was passed to daughters the way recipes were. Modern families own the same doors and windows and have simply never been taught the choreography. Number 5. Hot tea in a heat wave. Every foreigner who ever visited Britain in July has asked the same baffled question. Why are these people drinking scalding tea in 30-degree heat? Your grandmother swore it cooled her down, and everyone nodded, and for decades, scientists assumed it was folklore. Then in 2012, researchers at the University of Ottawa actually tested it. A hot drink triggers a disproportionate sweating response, and provided that sweat can evaporate. In a breeze, in loose cotton, you lose more heat than the drink put in. The finding made headlines worldwide. Grandmother vindicated by thermophysiology. The kettle, the pot, and a quarter pound of loose tea at around 2 shillings were the whole apparatus. There is a catch she also understood instinctively. It only works if the sweat can dry, which is why the tea was drunk, sitting in the shade of the back doorway with a breeze coming through, sleeves rolled up, and never in a stuffy room. Number 4. Shade outside the glass, not inside it. Look at any photograph of a British high street in the 1950s and you will see them. Canvas awnings cranked out over every shop window, and striped sunblinds on ordinary houses too, fitted above the front room window and lowered every summer morning. Your great-grandparents understood something the double-glazing era forgot. Stopping the sun outside the glass is vastly more effective than catching it inside. Indoor curtains intercept sunlight after it has already entered, and much of that heat stays in the room. An awning stops it before it touches the window, and modern testing shows external shading blocks far more solar heat than any internal blind can manage. Every house in the Mediterranean still has shutters for exactly this reason. A canvas house blind cost a few pounds and lasted 20 summers of cranking out after breakfast and winding in at dusk. We stripped them all off because they looked old-fashioned, and now we boil. Number 3. The terracotta trick. 4th pattern break, and this one is pure physics for pennies. Your grandmother kept butter cool in a heat wave with an unglazed terracotta flower pot. She stood the butter dish in a tray of water, upturned the pot over it, and draped a damp cloth so its edges sat in the water. The porous clay drank the water up through its walls, and as it evaporated from the outside surface, it pulled heat out of the air beneath. Butter stayed firm through the hottest afternoon of 1955, with no refrigeration whatsoever. Milk bottles stood in bowls of water with a wet cloth over them, on the same principle, in every larder in Britain. Scientists call it evaporative refrigeration, and versions of this device, the Zeapot, are today distributed by aid organizations across Africa because they keep food fresh for days without electricity. Development engineers win awards for it. Your grandmother called it keeping the butter, and the pot cost 4p from the market. Number 2. Loose cotton and rolled sleeves, the uniform of survival. There is a reason every photograph of a British heatwave before 1980 shows men in loose cotton shirts with sleeves rolled and women in cotton frocks that skimmed rather than clung. Tight clothes trap a layer of hot, damp air against your skin and stop sweat evaporating. And evaporation is the only cooling system your body has. Loose, light-colored cotton lets air circulate and sweat dry, which is why every desert culture on Earth dresses in flowing pale cloth rather than stripping off. Your grandmother knew the counterintuitive core of it. Nearly naked is often hotter than loosely dressed because bare skin in direct sun simply absorbs heat. A cotton summer dress could be run up from 1.5 yards of fabric at 2 shillings, and the pattern came free with the magazine. Sportswear companies now sell technical fabrics at £40 a shirt to do what a 2-shilling cotton frock did on Coronation Day. And number 1, the whole house rhythm. The greatest trick was never a single trick at all. It was the routine that stitched all of them together, run like clockwork by the woman of the house. Windows flung open at dawn to harvest the cool. Everything sealed and curtained by 9. Cooking done early or not at all. The yard watered at dusk. The house opened again the moment the outside air dropped below the inside air, and she could judge that moment by the feel of the doorstep on her bare hand. Sheets cooled, bottles filled, beds moved downstairs when the forecast demanded it. No single step cost more than a few pence, but together they kept a brick terrace livable through 1911, 1959, and 1976, without a single kilowatt. Building physicists have confirmed it. Run correctly, the passive routine outperforms a cheap portable air conditioner, fighting a battle the curtains could have prevented. The house was an instrument. She knew how to play it. Here is my challenge. Pick 3 of these before the next hot spell. Just 3. The dawn air harvest, the wet sheet at the window, feet in the basin, the pillowcase in the fridge. Try them on the first day the forecast turns red, then come back and tell me whether your grandmother knew her business. Because I tried them last July, and my thermometer does not lie. My front room ran 4 degrees cooler than my neighbor's, and his portable aircon unit was rattling away at full blast the entire week. Share which trick you are trying in the comments, and tell me the ones I missed, because someone's nan out there had a 26th. These were not just heatwave tricks. They were a quiet mastery of the British home that we traded away for plugs and promises. Your grandmother knew. Now you know too.